Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Zuckerberg is continuing his redemption tour, if you want to call it that. He appeared on Joe Rogan today, or I guess it got released today. It was the episode was filmed yesterday, but we know that Zuckerberg, apparently it's also come out that he is doing away with DEI fully. That came out within Meta today. And obviously the situation here is Zuckerberg catering to conservatives now that Trump is coming back in, Trump winning the election resoundingly. Some people saying, why should we really take whatever Zuckerberg says seriously? Why should we trust Zuckerberg? Why should we praise Zuckerberg, considering if Kamala Harris had won, it would probably be a different tune? I mean, this is not surprising to me with Zuckerberg. It seemed like he was already on a libertarian arc, if you want to call it that, going all the way back to the Trump assassination attempt. With a lot of these people, especially the people that have come out pro-Trump post-election, it's very important to look at where they were before the election, and you can kind of gauge whether or not they're serious about their opinion. Obviously, Zuckerberg is really leaning into this whole idea of being more libertarian. At least that's just kind of the vibe I get. It was kind of encouraged with the election result to go this route and to take off the reins in terms of all the censorship within Facebook. And he did a video, like 5 or 6 minute video, where he admitted that, yeah, this is really bad what's gone on. We have these fact checkers. They all ended up being just liberals. You've got the government cursing out Meta, telling them to take things down that they didn't like in relation to the vaccine and calling everything they don't like misinformation. Remember, all of us said this is what they were going to do with the words disinformation and misinformation. They were weaponized against the general public as a ploy to censor people. Anything the government didn't like, they called it disinformation and misinformation, and then had liberals regurgitate that talking point by saying there's a big problem with misinformation when the internet's existed for as long as it has. Why did those words come into play so much in 2020 and 2021? And then also with things like news outlets, you've got MSNBC, CNN, they're all funded by big pharma. And so they're telling you, to take this vaccine, it's good. Anyone saying there's something wrong with it or doesn't like it, they're trying to get you killed. And then they use that against people and say, just like they did with DeSantis when he was trying to keep his state up and running and keep the small businesses open, you're killing people for keeping these things open. You're disgusting. So that's how bad these people are. But we're going to go through a few clips here of Zuckerberg. In my opinion, this is what I would say with Zuckerberg. I don't sit here and praise people for, oh, now they're conservative, now, with Trump winning. But just my analysis would be that it did seem like Zuckerberg really either way was taking more of a libertarian approach in his own personal life, just the way he changed. He got called like a lizard, nerd, and he was changing his appearance. And also the whole thing with Trump, the assassination attempt, he said Trump was a badass. If he was really liberal and bought into it right after the assassination attempt, the common reaction from liberals was to, many of them were very triggered. Many of them were sad that Trump didn't die. The common liberal talking point after the attempt was, we're very sad that he didn't die. And so at least Zuckerberg wasn't doing that. It is a low bar, but we're going to go through this. You can see Zuckerberg there with Rogan, and then Zuckerberg admits that X community notes are better at fact checking than Meta's system. And he had said this also in a separate video where he was addressing just Facebook users, talking about how they're going to be changing the moderation and there's going to be a lack of moderation. They're going to unban a bunch of people and all that and really change it. And you can also make the opinion that, well, with Elon Musk really opening the reins on X, Zuckerberg is trying to stay competitive. Why would any conservative use X at this point, or why would any conservatives use Meta, Facebook at this point, when you've got X that has no censorship and you feel like you're being censored on Facebook? That's another thing. Although it is two different demographics. The older people tend to use Facebook a lot more than younger people.
There are a couple of different things here. One is, this is something where I think X and Twitter just did it better than us on fact checking. We took the critique around around misinformation. We put in place this fact checking program, which basically empowered these third-party fact checkers. They could mark stuff false, and then we would downrank it in the algorithm. I think what Twitter and X have done with community notes, I think is just a better program. Rather than having a small number of fact checkers, you get the whole community to weigh in. When people usually disagree on something, tend to agree on how they're voting on a note. That's a good sign to the community that there's actually like a broad consensus on this, and then you show it. And you're showing more.
And another thing with Zuckerberg that I didn't even say before I, went into this clip is Zuckerberg's last time on Rogan. I think he's been on there like 4 times now or something. But the last time he went on Rogan, and Zuckerberg knows this, and his people tell him, go on Rogan, it'll make you more likable. That's just the reality with long form content. That's why it's so crazy that Kamala Harris, or at least Wallace, didn't go on Rogan, because it will make you more likable. Rogan's not trying to be confrontational. He's trying to have a conversation with you and be relatable. And so that's why Zuckerberg is smart for continuing to go on Rogan. It'll help him seem more human. It'll help him be more likable, especially with this brand change for Zuckerberg going more as like a libertarian. But the last time, I mean, how about the letter from Zuckerberg? And really, no one else brings this up, but I'm really the only one that brings up the Zuckerberg letter, where he admitted it was a letter, and he's like, yes, the FBI and the CIA told us we had to censor the laptop story. They said before the election, before it even got huge, this was like back, if you go back to 2020, maybe in the summer of 2020, they said, be on the lookout. There's going to be Russian disinformation. And this is in the letter, specifically against the Biden family corruption. So they're already preemptively saying there's going to be some information about Biden family corruption. Don't worry, it's all Russia. Remember, it's the exact same thing. Remember, we had 2 or 3 years of them not being able to accept that Trump won in 2016. And they do it actually through legal things like the Mueller report and everything like that. And they called Trump an illegitimate president for like 2.5 years as that investigation went on. But when Trump has a day in January of 2021, he gets called a domestic terrorist, and he tells people at 3:00 to go home, and they take the video off of X, or at the time it was Twitter. But no, it's not a double standard. No, it was only 3 years they couldn't admit Trump won, and they tried to use lawfare against him, and then they threw him in prison and elevated charges to make him a convicted felon, so now they can say that for the rest of eternity. But no, there's no double standard, guys. But no, let's get back to this. Zuckerberg was the one that came out in a letter and said, yeah, he admitted, they said the CIA and the FBI preemptively told us there's going to be misinformation and to ban it. And obviously that misinformation was true about Biden, but guys, it was going to hurt Joe Biden. He might have lost to Hitler, him reincarnated in Donald Trump. So you had to censor it for the good of the people. It was like, how does the word disinformation still have any value when they purposefully put that word back into the spotlight? If you look at all the Google metrics, the word disinformation goes way up in 2020 originally, because, and that's what Zuckerberg was really talking about, all of the vaccines and stuff like that. They use the word disinformation to talk about that, to try and scare people from talking bad about big pharma. But it's just crazy still to this day. The justification for removing a October surprise bombshell story that probably would have changed an election was disinformation. And it's just, they're just, it's not disinformation. It's true. You're just using it to try and make sure a certain candidate wins. And then after the fact, people just forget about it. It's all right, God. Just forget about it. It's not a big deal. Look at this. Zuckerberg's Meta is terminating its major DEI programs effective immediately, including for hiring, training, and picking suppliers per Axios. So you know what? There is a bit of a change going on right now. And people can say, well, Zuckerberg's fake. He's just doing this because Trump won. But no, we're seeing this at many different multi-billion-dollar companies where they're saying, we're done with DEI. It's anti-American. It's anti-native born. And we're just sick and tired of it. And people are not standing for DEI practices anymore. And so that is good to see. I mean, it's not surprising with Zuckerberg's rhetoric change. We got another thing, Zuckerberg exposing Biden administration. They pressured Facebook to censor posts on vaccine side effects. But it's not even about the vaccine. It's more so, I'm more interested in the Biden laptop. I think that's the real incriminating stuff. The vaccine stuff's all just big pharma influence over government and influence over the administration. It's all crap. Everybody knew that. But apparently Zuckerberg in this was basically like, yeah, I mean, there'd be like these secretary DEI hire women. Okay, maybe he didn't say that, but this is basically what he was meaning. He's like, there's like these secretary DEI women who are like bitching us out because of memes posted on Facebook. Take a look at this.
Beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, like everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
And it's crazy because it obviously that's one of the components with vaccines in general. It's a dead virus going into your body. Normally you get sick anyways. So they wanted everything censored. This is Soviet Russia. This is, if you say anything bad, even if it's true, we don't care. Censor them and silence them. And so here's Zuckerberg coming out and saying it. And so this is what I was talking about. This is the clip I was looking for about just the Biden people getting triggered and starting to scream and just...
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, like...
Because the thing is, it's the Leonardo DiCaprio ad when he's looking at the TV, he's like that. And it's, you understand 10 years with the vaccine and like the side effects and stuff like that. Once upon a time in Hollywood.
For this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was...
So what he means by that is this is a common liberal thing. If you push back at all against any restriction during, the pandemic, or if you think it violates your own rights, if you do say anything about that, you're the one that's killing people. And so, again, that's something that they did, when a governor like DeSantis pushes back against it, trying to keep the small businesses alive and to stay afloat. It's, you're killing people, you're disgusting. We can't necessarily prove it, but we can just say this because you're not following these guidelines that we've put in place that limit you from being able to live a normal life, even if you are 100% healthy. We can't prove that you're killing people, but we can say you are. And so that's what they do. So these people are so evil, so disgusting. And there have been a few things that Zuckerberg has said, just like that letter. Obviously now he's become more, it seems like a libertarian. And look, people can say, well, it's all fake. If Kamala would have won, everything would be the same. But it did seem like Zuckerberg was making a bit of a change before the Trump victory. But I understand what people are saying about certain people right after Trump wins. I mean, if Trump would have lost, these people they'd be completely different. So I think it matters, like, how did these people act before Trump won versus after? Because a lot of them just jump on the bandwagon, especially with Trump winning resoundingly. They can't even use the cope, well, he lost the popular vote. Now they use the whole idea of, well, he only got like 49.8%. That's the only thing they use now. So you're starting to see a shift, and now you're starting to see all these DEI programs. They're all being gone. It's totally anti-American. The DEI stuff was, and so the fact that it's gone is good, and it's starting to change things a little bit. But it is scary to see a government act this way. And for love him or hate him, Elon Musk buying X. I mean, imagine if X was still control. I mean, it has changed a lot. It really has, for conservatives. And obviously, Musk there's been some problems with him censoring, but I mean, it is still, there's admittedly, I mean, I've been critical of Musk, but it is significantly better than like this type of stuff where that you've got a liberal government bossing around saying you need to silence certain things because they're all bought and paid for by big pharma. I mean, this is just total crap. You're supposed to be serving the American people. You're trying to censor memes online, having your DEI secretary call up and bitch out people at social media companies to silence American citizens. I mean, the administration is just, it's the thing with these. And then on top of that, see, that would be evil in and of itself, but then it's 10 times worse when they try and guilt trip people by saying, if you don't follow the rules and if you think your rights are being taken away, you're killing people. It's just all so bad. But the stuff that Zuckerberg's saying here, it's not surprising, but we'll see what happens with him. I mean, Meta seemingly is, whether or not you want to say it's because of Musk and they're trying to keep up in terms of the competition or what, but it does seem like Meta here is making a pretty big shift post-Trump winning. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.